Welcome to the Building Business Relationships podcast. I'm Matt Stone, and before we officially launch, we are exploring what matters most when it comes to relationships in business and the business of relationships. These early episodes are about testing ideas, learning from guests, and hearing what you think belongs in the conversation. So listen in, share your thoughts, and help shape what this podcast becomes. And in order to do that, I'm so grateful to be joined today by Adrian Fulle, a storyteller and marketing leader whose career spans Hollywood and high-growth companies alike. After early work in the entertainment industry with Variety magazine and other major studios, Adrian shifted his focus to brand strategy and digital transformation. Today, as Chief Marketing Officer and former CEO at Good Salt Life, he helps purpose-driven brands grow through creativity, curiosity, and data-driven strategy. A graduate of Harvard and Stanford's Graduate School of Business Emerging CMO program, it's a bit of a mouthful. Adrian brings a rare blend of cinematic storytelling and business acumen to every conversation. So we have very high hopes for this one. Adrian, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Matt. You forgot to say Maine West High School in Des Plaines, Illinois, which I'm sure everybody knows. You forgot to add that to the bio.
Maine West High School. Yes, the ultimate feeder school for
all the big community colleges. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No offense to your high school. Mine was South Salem High School in Oregon, and other than winning some Grammys for high school music, nothing there. Okay. All right. Listen, Adrian, I am really, really grateful. You know why we're here. We're talking about business relationships. You've had a number of them over the years, right? And I love that you've been in different industries too. So I'm excited to get your stories and your perspective. But I want to start off like I'm starting off with all of these pre-launch conversations, hearing a story about somebody who made a really big impact on you. So can you think of a business relationship that was transformational or had a major impact on your career and or your life in general?
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting. So as you mentioned, I had a change of careers halfway through my life and went from the entertainment industry into marketing, into corporate America, so to speak. And I've had a lot of really influential mentors in entertainment and have had some as well as a marketer in the marketing world. But there was a guy who bridged the gap. And that's who I want to talk about today. His name is Steve Gatos. He was the former executive editor at Variety magazine. And I believe his last title when he left was EVP of content or something like that. But the reason I bring up Steve is because Steve, first off, Variety was the first real corporate America job that I had. Now, a lot of people around the country don't think of it as a corporation or a corporate bit job. They think of it as a magazine that does red carpet stuff and interviews with big celebrities, and it's really cool, and it was. And there were a lot of creative people that worked there, but it was a business. And I remember going and pitching myself for the job. The CMO at the time, Dea Lawrence, had reached out to me. We had known each other from the past. They were looking to start a content studio. But Adrian, I'm not going to just give you the job. You got to come in. There's going to be other candidates. You got to do the whole dog and pony show, which I did. And I'll never forget, I got hired. I went in, and the first thing, and Steve was the guy I was reporting to, and the first thing Steve said to me was, well, I didn't want to hire you. I was the no vote in the room. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're a writer, and you're just going to be writing all the time. You're not going to actually focus on the work. I said, no, that's not the case. I'm going to focus on the work. And so from there, that initial weird moment actually led to this amazing, well, quite honestly, great personal friendship and mentorship. Steve he knows how to do it, man. He knows how to be creative, and he also knows business. And he taught me, I always remember the three main things he taught me. He basically said, be on the side of revenue. That's number one. And I said, what do you mean sales? He goes, whatever it means, just be on the side of revenue. I said, okay. And then he said, always ask questions. So we'd have these giant meetings at Variety in this really cool, like, top deck room with like 40 people around this marble. It was just like you'd see in the movies, and nobody would raise their hand and ask a question of the owners or whoever was speaking at the time, except for Steve. Every single time, his arm shot up. So I learned to do that. And then the last thing he said had nothing to do with Variety, but it did, or at least I didn't think it did. It ultimately did. He said, one thing you always have to remember, Adrian, is that writing is rewriting. And he was a writer himself, and so I just took that as a writing note. But it really has stuck with me out of all of the things he taught me. Essentially, I think what he was saying, Matt, and maybe you could dig into this a little bit too, is there is no final draft. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're always constantly reworking the story, the narrative, our own personal journey story, and whatever it is. And I think that really stuck with me. So Steve Gatos, Variety magazine, was really the guy who, and then really helped me launch into the wacky world of marketing in corporate America.
You still in contact?
Yeah, I called him today just to get his permission to talk about it, my name. And he was like, I'd be honored. I was like, okay, we're good.
Steve Gatos, this one's for you. All right, buddy. I'd like to meet him now. I love that.
Yeah, he's a worldly guy, man. He's met everybody and he's done everything. So,
yeah. How did you know? I was talking with somebody else about their person, the relationship, one of the relationships that coming for them. And we were talking about how there was this moment where the person felt really seen for who they are and what they bring, their gifts.
Yeah.
And even the talent that was good but could be developed even further. Do you remember that moment with Steve where you felt like this guy really gets me?
It's a great question. There were two moments. I'll never forget the moment. So the way the office space in Variety was set up at the time was I had a cubicle and I was with a bunch of other folks in cubicles, and the content studio was new. I was the only hire at that time, and then they pulled in another guy, David Cohen, from a series called Artisans, which was really popular at the time. And we just had cubicles. And so we worked in this like open floor plan except for the executives, and Steve had his own office, but it was right across literally 20 feet away. And I was a little nervous to go in there. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't just going to knock on this guy's door. It would have to be a scheduled meeting or something like that, right? And one day he sticks his head out of the office, which he never did, and he goes, Adrian, I got a question. So I'm okay. So I go into his office, sweating bullets, thinking this is where I'm going to get fired or something's going wrong, right? And he asked my opinion about budgeting for a video production. And then it went to a second question that he asked my opinion about producing, just around the general sense of producing video productions. And in that moment, I remember going, oh, he values my opinion. And this is a guy who knows a lot. He's not a know-it-all. That's not what I'm saying. But he doesn't need to ask me that kind of stuff. He knows the answers and he could figure it out. But I think he was trying to show me that he valued me in the role that I was hired for, and he valued my opinion. And I think that really stuck with me. We ended up doing a number of business trips together to different film festivals. We went down to Savannah, Georgia, which I'd never been, to SCAD, the School of Design down there, which was fantastic. They were so cool to us. And the food, by the way, I would never survive in the South, Matt, because after about 4 days of eating that amazing fried chicken, I'd have a heart attack and a stroke.
We're going to go wide lens on this shot. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had the meat sweats like first night in. It was too much. Yeah. No, but I loved it down there, and so that was like one of the first big trips where it was just Steve and I. And I was like, man, I'm with the top guy. It just, I don't know how to, I can't articulate it, but it's just like, wow, I'm with the top guy and he's treating me as an equal. And I'm actually going and doing meetings without him in some cases as the guy. And so it was just, I don't know, it was a quick lesson in feeling really confident about yourself. And then from there forward, I was like, okay, I got his trust. Now I can go do my thing. And we blew it up at Rami. It was fantastic. We did it. In 3 years, we went from zero to like $8 million a year in revenue, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think about that's close to 1/5 of all of Variety revenue at the time. I mean, with two guys and Steve for the longest period, and then we ended up bringing in two other hires. But yeah, it was. I'm starting to get a little teary-eyed because those were some fun days.
Those are some good days.
Yeah.
Wow. So revenue, ask good questions, and writing is always rewriting.
That's it.
I wrote those down because those are so good. And Actually, I have a friend who's just a prolific writer. He runs a writing company, helps people think deeply and write clearly. That's literally the name of his. I'll probably have him on at some point.
Yeah, should.
And I was talking with him the other day at World Trade Center, and you're sitting up on the 60 whatever floor looking out on the city. You know what I'm saying? The observation area, and they have a cafe up there. And it's such a great place to think because you're just literally looking out over everything. And we were talking about like the role of writing in making content that matters in this digital age that you can have. And we all use ChatGPT or whatever, for lots of different things, but actually the import of writing is only growing because to write, to be unique, to have real creative ideas, to get your ideas really out there is going to require that you write, and it's a never-ending exercise. I mean, which is maybe not as satisfying for people to realize. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But the writing itself is how you develop your ideas. It's how you get it out there. So
that was my biggest problem in entertainment. I started out as a screenwriter, and I did okay. I sold some scripts, and I got interestingly, I was mostly hired to rewrite scripts as a script doctor, primarily the dialogue. And that was because I learned one little trick in improv comedy when I was at Second City right out of college. And that was, there's a couple little tricks, but, essentially have your characters not ask any questions. They just make statements, and they never say no. They always yes and everything. And so you take that, and there's some other things, but you take these two little key things and try to write dialogue that way, and you always get great dialogue. You don't even have to really be a great writer to get great dialogue using these little tricks. Also, dialogue is musical. It's a rhythm. So it's particularly obvious in comedy and especially sitcoms, that's ba-dum, 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 joke, ba-dum, ba-dum, like there's a rhythm. And that song gets boring after a while, and you want to switch to a drama. But you see what I'm saying? Like if you can hear the music of the dialogue, you can write great dialogue. And that was something for me that I kept in writing when I went into marketing and writing brand stories, writing copy for ads. But the one thing I do find is I'll go back and look at old campaigns that we've done, and that should have had an exclamation point at the end, not a period. You know what I mean? Like I still continue to rewrite the stuff that doesn't matter anymore. It's just stuck within me, man. I can't help it.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. You want to improve it. That's the kind of the point. Listen, we're making this super short, and I do want to get you out on time as well, but I want to extract a little more juice from that giant brain of yours. So I just have like two more questions for today. Okay. The first one is, what's the conversation that we're not having publicly that we should be about relationships in business?
Yeah, that's a great thing. And I think that conversation is not happening at the office or the virtual office. I think that conversation is when that coworker who's sitting next to you physically, or you see them on the screen, for example, has a mug that promotes one political party over another, and you don't agree with that, or an ideology that is different than yours. We're not having that civil conversation anymore. They're not coming to our family barbecue like they used to. They're not getting invited to our events and vice versa. We're all just angry at each other. And in business in particular, I think what happened is everyone froze up. We just don't want to address these topics. And I'm not suggesting we should on the show, but I am suggesting that we should be talking about how can we, having differences of opinion on certain things outside of the business, get along and still do great business together. And then, more importantly, when we're working together, how can that business contribute to the civility and to the advancement of our society, regardless of left, right, center, ideology, any of those things. That's what I think.
Couldn't say it better myself, although I've tried.
Well, I'll rewrite it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It'll never be done.
No, not ideology.
Yeah, no, that's the wrong word.
Yeah.
I really think business especially small and medium-sized businesses, play a critical role in the relational architecture of the country, the threads that tie us together, because it's one of the few remaining places that we can congregate, and where we have to congregate with people with whom we don't agree on other things, but we work together. We see the humanity where,
Yeah. I'm glad you said small business, because that's 90% of all business in America is small business. And small businesses being mom and pop, 5 employees, maybe less, I think it's even more important for them because they're usually local to communities. You know what I mean? Like it's a network of individuals. It's just a network of Americans, man, and human beings.
Yeah.
And we all don't agree on everything, but we can agree that we're all in this great country together, and we should be doing the best we can to make it even greater.
Yeah, that's right.
Not again, but
not again, but greater. Yeah,
greater.
Always moving forward. Always moving forward.
Yeah.
Last question. The podcast launches, as you know, in 2026. We're already putting content out. We're getting excitement. We're looking for sponsors. We're building the team. We're doing all kinds of good stuff. What excites you most about the launch of the Building Business Relationships podcast?
So I am 7 years ago sitting in a New York apartment with Vincent Pastore, who played Big Pussy on the Sopranos, interviewing Vincent for a variety thing we were doing, a branded content project. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. This is what I love. I love, like, my purpose in life is to be able to sit with a person and have a conversation. Now, how do I make that a career? I don't know. I didn't really pursue that as a career, but that's what I love. And what I'm most excited about with the BBR pod is having those real conversations with other business folks, other business leaders about all of these things that we're talking about. I'm just really looking forward to those real conversations.
As am I. Thank you for taking a few minutes today.
Yeah, my
Great
pleasure.
stories.
This is great.
You should be a storyteller. I'll bet there's a graduate program for that.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Building Business Relationships podcast. This pre-launch phase is all about discovery. So if something sparked your interest, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, ideas, or guest suggestions, and help us shape the conversations to come. And of course, subscribe so you will be the very first to know when we officially launch. But before then, there's plenty of content, so stick around. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again next time.